Right. So what I'm going to discuss about HLD and as well as LLD, which is about high-level designs, high-level diagrams, and as well as low-level diagrams. So before I'm going into uh, generally the high-level designs and as well as low-level designs, first of all, we should understand about the system design first. Okay, this is what generally we need to know about. First of all, we must be knowing about system designing first, right? So in this system design, whatever the HLDs and all everything will come under this part. Okay. Normally, this system design, yeah. So normally, this is system design is the one which will be used to create any application, whatever we want to develop. So creating an application, creating a software application or a system called as system design. Okay, because let's say for example we are developing a banking application or we are developing some point of sale system for any customer requirements. So there are multiple components which are involved in it and multiple systems were integrated because what kind of system we are developing, what kind of user interfaces we are creating, what kind of database we are creating here, and what programming language or the business logic we are implementing in it, and how this application is interconnected with other applications and all. This is all something which is externally as well as internally an application will be used here. Okay. Now, if we want to prepare a system design, because designing the system for a pictorial representation for the benefit of development team is something essentially important whenever we are working on this. So in regard to that, whenever we are going to create any system design, especially into the architectural perspective, so this is to prepare system design. The following points or factors need to be considered as follows. Okay, so what points do we require to consider is what something we have to be known with, right? If you want to create any system level designing, especially for any application we are going to develop, right? So as far as the solution is concerned, the first thing we must be knowing about few points. The first one, we must be knowing about the characteristics of the program we are going to develop. Okay, so first of all, we must be knowing about the characteristics of the program or the application we are going to develop. This is point number one. Point number two, we must be knowing about the list of users who uses this system, this application or a system. Okay. Now, again, these users will be differentiating on two things. One is there are some applications which are internal applications and some are external applications. Okay, two different things. Okay, one is internal applications, second is external applications. So I'll give you the difference to you. Let's say, for example, we are developing a point of sale system for billing purpose within the organization, right? At the same time, we are developing a core banking application which will be used to manage back-end operations of any organization. That's what generally internal applications were. So who are users for internal application? If you have taken a point of sale system as an example, who are going to use this? This is being used by the biller. Second, this will be used by the inventory people. This will be used by the store manager or HR people, etc. Right? For different purposes, whatever the purpose of application they are developing for the different purpose, because billing person will be used this for billing related stuff. At the same time, inventory person will be using this application for managing the inventory. Store manager will be using this application to generate reports. HR people wants to see the log details of the employees. Okay, internal applications. First of all, we need to identify who are users who are going to use the application. This is what generally we call it as business users, right? Business users are. Second, external applications. What are external applications? External applications, nothing but online banking kind of online banking application. Online banking application users are customers. Customers need not come to the home branch. Without coming to the home branch, what customers can do? Customer can log into an online banking application and they can use the application externally without coming there, right? So these are all external users. So when we are going to develop any kind of application, especially when you want to create any system designing for any application, first of all, we must be knowing about the characteristics of the system or an application, whatever are we going to develop. Yeah. Yeah. So application we need to develop. That is the first thing which we have to be known with. The second, we must be knowing about the list of users who are going to use the application, all that, right? This is point number 2. Point number 3, we should understand the future needs also. Future needs means how much the system is expandable in future. Means understanding the future requirements of the customer is also something essentially important, right? So let's say we are developing an point of sale system. Assume that, right? Assume that we are developing an on-premise application as of now for the need of the benefit of the customer. What is that we need to understand? It's not only about on-premise application now. In future, if they are expanding their retail operations as well as the store operations and all in different parts of the location by establishing multiple stores, this on-premise application may not be that much feasible, because you need to require an exclusive server at one location where they have to access that server in regular intervals, which is something difficult, which is something difficult for people to manage all that, right? So we need to understand the possibility of the expansion of the existing application, which usually possible in near future. The reason why, the best example, what is that we discussed in the last sessions about cloud-based application. Because cloud-based application has an advantage where this can be accessed anywhere across the world using the login credentials, all that. And whatever the infrastructure expansion we want to do, or the kind of platform services we want to enhance in the existing application, can be done in the cloud application, so that there is no difficulty in managing the infrastructure or the platform in regular intervals if there is any future needs and all, everything coming to picture. Understood? Clear? Is it clear to you, Aishwarya and Ramakrishna? Right or not?
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Understood.
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so these are the 3 major aspects. If we are designing any system visually, being into architect roles, we need to understand 3 things before we are going for designing. Either it can be high level design of the application, or it can be low level design of the application. The first thing we must be knowing about, what are the different factors to be considered. First, we must be knowing about the characteristics of the application. What is that we are about to develop? Second, we must be knowing about the list of users who are going to use this application in reality. Either it can be an external application or it can be an internal application. That is something which we have to be known with. The third one we must be knowing about the possibility of expanding the system in future is what something we have to be known with. So that is the reason why whenever we are going to design the system level designing and all everything, so to understand about the kind of reusability of the parts, what is that we require to scale up to make applications scalable and all that. So different design patterns is what something we will be using. This is where generally system designing and all everything will be coming into picture. Now, when it comes to the system design, usually the system design usually will be classified into two different parts. System design classified into two parts. The first one is high level design. Second is called low level design. The first one is called high level design. The second one is called low level design. These are the two different designs which normally we will be having. So when it comes to the high level design, what exactly high level design is, what something are we doing, right? So this is what something we must be knowing. Majorly high level designs are the one. This will provide a comprehensive view of the system architecture. This will provide a comprehensive view of system architecture. This is what generally the high level design will be useful of, right? This is the first point. Second point, it describes the main components of the system and how these components are interacting. Right? So how majorly the main components and systems, how these components are interacting is what something we will be knowing under the high level design part, right? So when it comes to the high level design part itself is concerned, high level design majorly focusing on two areas. One is about to provide a comprehensive view about the system architecture. At the same time, it also describes what are the different components we are using in the system and how these components are interacting one among all, because there are multiple components we are developing the application and all that. So generally, for that, generally we have to be known like how these components are interacting among all is what something we need to know and we need to design whenever we are working on the high level design. Now, when it comes to the implementation of the system, when it comes to the implementation of the high level designs and all everything, this includes the database design, because whatever the database design are we going, whatever the databases we are creating, the database design will be included in it, followed by system platform, and services. Understood? Clear? Right? So whenever we are creating the high level design, especially under the system level designing for any application we are developing, it's not only about the comprehensive view of the system architecture. It's not only about the components and how these components are interacting among all these, but also we must able in a position to understand how and what are all the designs which are included in high level design is what something we must be knowing. In reference to this, normally database design is what something we have to be designed with, right? So database designing is also part of the high level design. Along with this, this also describes the relationships between the modules that are present in the system, right? So this is where generally the high level design is what something we have to be used with. So whenever we are working on the high level design part, even database designing and all everything will also be included in it. At the same time, we should give a clear understanding over the kind of modules which are involving in the project. Again, in these modules, what are the features and functionalities we are going to develop? Again, it's not only about the functional requirements. We should be able in a position to understand the non-functional requirements of the application as well. What are the non-functional requirements and all? So the reason why we are going to understand about the characteristics of the application. The reason, if you see, in reference to the high level design, as I mentioned you, what are the different components we are using and how these components were interacted. At the same time, what are the modules we are developing and how these modules are presenting in the system is what something we have to be known with, right? So understanding about the characteristic of a system, which is on a high level note, underline this point, which is on a high level note, is what generally the high level design is what generally we have to be created with, right? Majorly, this is where this is required because the reason I'll tell you the reason behind the implementation of the high level design, because any customer, whoever is expecting us to provide a solution for their business problem, end of the day, application performance matters a lot, right? Whatever the application are we going to develop? So this application performance is something essentially required. Application has to be performed well. So application performance is something essentially required here. It's not only about the application performance, but we must be knowing about, and customer should also know about how scalable the application is, because scalability by incorporating this application in multiple areas is what something which customer expects from us. That is the reason why whenever we are going to develop in high level design and all, these high level designs will give a clear understanding over the system performances, how the system performs uh, by considering the performance of the application, by considering the hardware and software, what is that are we going to use for that particular application? Either it can be an on-premise or a cloud application. At the same time, whatever the system functionalities which are implementing in the existing application we are developing. At the same time, how scalable the system that we are developing, because due to the scalability, the advantage under scalability is not only easiness of application to use in the real world, but also it limits the expenses for the customer in future. Because if a customer wants to expand their application to the next level. Operational cost is something which is expensive. In order to reduce the operational cost, in order to minimize the operational cost and all, understanding over the scalability of the application, one way or other way, even scalability of the application is also one of the key and prominent element which we have to be good with. Is it clear? Aishwarya and Ramakrishna, right? Is it
Yes.
clear? Right?
Yeah.
Now, why are we
Yeah,
creating
clear,
high
sir.
level design? For what purposes we are going to create a high level design? Normally, high level design is the one which is majorly created by us because we want to get an acceptance from the stakeholders. Because initially, whatever the requirements customer has given, either by understanding about the non-functional requirements, whenever we are going to develop any application, customer should be knowing about what application and we are developing and how are we developing it. And the customer should also know what are the different components involving in the application and how these components are interacting one among all. That understanding stakeholders should get. To get an acceptance from the stakeholder, it is always important for us to create high level designs and all everything is what something we have to be known with. Point number one. Second, high level design, the other reason is that cost of the project, because cost of the project also will be knowing, because depends on the complexity, depends on the risk which is involving in the project we are developing. Because whenever we are creating this project, there is a complexity because depends on the domain to domain, application to application. Because sometimes what we do, sometimes we do the migration projects. Migration means you are migrating from legacy applications to the new application, or else sometimes we are developing an application from the scratch. So depends on the kind of functionality that particular application belongs to, complexity as well as the risk will also be involved in it, right? So what modules are we implementing, right? What features we are implementing, who are the users, from where these users were interacting, right? So depends on that. There is a possibility where we can evaluate the kind of risk which is involved in it. Risk majorly in terms of the technical risk I'm talking about, not in terms of the um, not in terms of the budget risk column, because that's nowhere relating to our category. That usually project management team will be taken care of in later stages, because we have to, first of all, we need to evaluate the technical risk on front. So because based on the technical risk and all, cost will be impacted. In what way it will be impacted over the budget and all, that will be taken care of by the project management team afterwards. So being into designing level, when it comes to the architecture level, when we are developing it, it is not something relating to us, right? So it is something related majorly over the system level risk is what something we will be evaluated. So cost majorly, the impact of the cost of the project majorly impacted because of the system risk. Because complexity increases, automatically there is an amount of effort we have to put in will also get increased. When it is increased, automatically man hours will be increased. Even budget will also be changed in this. So this is also something which is possible, especially when we are creating high level designs and all. We will be knowing about the amount of cost which will be required for a project to develop. This is by considering the risk which is involved in the project is also something one which is possible under the high level designs. Next, at the same time, whenever we are creating the high level designs and all, we will be knowing about the kind of limitations and as well as trade off the system, if there is any, which is optional, I can say, because I don't say that for every application there will be some limitations at all the times, but if any, right? So if there are any limitations as well as the trade-offs of the system which are available or which are identified, so that also we come to know whenever we have created the high level designs and all everything. Next, at the same time, high level design is also one of the advantage under the high level design is to understand about how we have collaborated and communicated among the systems and applications. Either it can be modules or it can be the features of the application from the user perspective, right? So how the collaboration and as well as communication has been taken place over the application. Either it can be an external application or an internal application. Everything we will be knowing about this using this high-level design. Understood? Clear? Ramakrishna and Aishwarya. Clear?
Yes, sir, clear.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right? So this is
So,
where generally high-level designs is what something we do. So whenever
so this,
please.
sir, yeah. So this HLD is to show to the business, right?
Absolutely. That's what I'm about to say.
Explain. Okay, to
That's
explain.
what I'm about to say that.
Okay.
I'm about to say the same thing. You're asking the same. Yeah. This is the high-level design will be created based on the initial requirements, what we have gathered from the customer. Whatever you said is right. Because if you want to get the acceptance from the team, from the business team also, and if you want to know about the exact cost which is incurred and which is involved in it, at the same time, if you want to know the reality over the complexity of the system and all everything, these high-level designs are something useful. Low-level designs and all everything are useful for the developers. Understood? Aishwarya and Ramakrishna. Clear?
Yes.
Low-level designs are useful for the development team. But high-level designs are useful and high-level designs are important for a business people to say go ahead, right? So if you want to get clarity over this go ahead and all, then for that reason generally high-level designs are something useful for us. That's the reason why high-level designs are something essentially important whenever we are creating the high-level design, all that. Understood? Clear? Right? Is it clear?
Yes.
So this is usually, yes, whatever you said is right. Usually this is the one which normally we do whenever we are getting an approvals over the application, what is that we are going to develop. Okay, right? This is what generally high-level designs are being used for. Now, when it comes to the low-level design, right? So what low-level design consists of? Normally, low-level design, it details the description of every module of the system or an application that we are about to develop, right? So because if you want to know about the detailed description of the module we are going to develop and all everything, so this is where generally this low-level designs and all everything will be used for. Now, for this, normally it provides, let me write down here, it provides the detailed description of the following points, right? So what are those points we'll be focusing? First of all, we must be knowing about the kind of particular algorithms, what is that we are using. Okay, that's what something we have to be known with, right? What are the particular algorithms are we using for us to develop this logic for a particular project? It's a particular algorithm, right? So first of all, we'll be knowing about the particular algorithm. What is that we want to implement it? Next, we will be knowing about the data structures here. At the same time, next we will be knowing about the kind of interfaces we are using. Understood? Clear? Understood or not? Clear?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
Clear.
the user interface designs, right? So the integrations, right? So all these things will also be a part of the low-level designs, all that. Understood? Right? Now, When it comes to the low level design, as I told you, there are different algorithms, data structures and all, everything we use. So normally algorithms will be used in this. At the same time, the kind of data structures, whatever we are using. At the same time, if you want to validate the data, because there are some data validation rules which normally we write. So even data validation rules will also be included in it. At the same time, if there are any errors happened in future, how you are going to handle errors and all, right? So error handling will be included in it. At the same time, if there is any data recovery or recovery of an application or a data, as well as the recovery process or steps, if you want to know. So that even the recovery part will also be included in the low level design part. Understood? Clear? Understood or not?
Yes, yes, sir.
Clear and rough,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
So high level design will give us the high level view over the application, the kind of modules, as well as the kind of features which are involved in it, components, at the same time, comprehensive view over the system architecture, etc. But when it comes to the low level design, majorly focusing on the kind of modules we are developing and how these modules are, how does modules this work internally. For that, what are the particular algorithm we are using for those implementation? While we are implementing, what are the particular algorithms are we using it? At the same time, what are the data structure we are implementing in it while we are implementing it? At the same time, what are the interfaces we are creating? Like either it can be user interfaces, or if this application is integrating with some other applications or modules integration, right? So all these things will be used in it. So apart from that, this is also essentially useful. This low level design will also be useful whenever if you want to create any kind of data validation rules, because if you want to validate, authenticate and authorize the data, whatever the data validation rules and all everything, that also included in it. At the same time, error handling, recovery, all these will be included in the low level design. Clear? Understood?
yes,
Right. So, but whereas when it comes to the low level designs and all everything, we have to know about the design patterns, because whatever the kind of modules we are developing, whatever the kind of classes and functions we are developing in low level design, either it can be the modules or classes or functionalities and all. So we must be knowing about the design patterns also. Usually design patterns, as we all know, like we can categorize into three. One is about the creational one, structural, as well as behavioral one. So that I'm going to discuss in this on Saturday session. Clear? Right?
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
again,
Okay.
behavioral patterns and because again, created patterns, again, singleton, factory, right? So different design patterns are there, right? So that we're going to discuss one by one about these design patterns in Saturday session. Clear to everyone?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Understood?
Understood.
This is what generally the difference you see from high level to low level design. Okay. Then next we discuss about the design patterns and all. And the next, using the software as specified, how to create high level and low level designs is what I'll be showing in next sessions. Okay, clear?
Okay.
Okay.
Right there?
Yeah.
Okay, good night.
So, yeah,
Yeah, tell me please.
particular algorithms means, sir, means
Is there any,
wow.
what are the algorithms we use when you want to develop logic for the particular functionality? So those algorithms we have to identify.
Okay.
So those are all required. So that, of course,
Okay.
clear?
Okay, sir. Yeah. Clear, sir.
I'll discuss it on Saturday, right? So the tier part of it.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay.
So how to implement those algorithms and all, right? So by having a pseudo code, right? So that part I'll discuss it on Saturday and Sunday sessions to you. Okay, clear.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
I'll show you practically so that you'll be understood well.
Great. Okay, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.